Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special and exciting Costa Cruises webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. The webinar will run about 45 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. The webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Silvio Alonso. Silvio is Director of Strategic Partnerships at Costa North America and has been in the travel industry for 30 years, with over 25 of those in cruise industry experience. Starting in reservations at Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, he held various inventory control positions at that organization before transitioning to revenue management in 1995. He held the position of Senior Revenue Management Analyst before leaving RCCO, and in 2002 joined the Club Med North American team as Pricing Manager, where he remained for 4 years. Joining Costa in 2006 as Director of Revenue Management, Silvio returned to his cruise industry roots, and in 2010 he joined the sales force when he became the Director of Strategic Partnerships, currently covering Costa's key partners in North America. And with that, take it away, Silvio.
Thank you very much, Anna. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Really happy to be here. We have a lot of great information on the new Costa. We took the time during the beginning of the pandemic and toward the middle to really think about how we wanted to reintroduce Costa as a brand and to cruising in Europe when we were able to start entering the market again. And I have to say, right off the bat, there has never been a better time to go to Europe than right now because of the strength of the dollar. You know, the dollar and the euro are so on par. I've never seen an opportunity like this. So just from a financial point of view, cruising to Europe, I think in 23 is going to be big just because it makes so much sense to go now. I'm going to turn off my camera while the webinar is on, and I will join you again at the end. So as I said, my name is Silvio Alonso. I'm the Director of the Strategic Partnerships here at Costa, and been at the company now since 2010. Been in sales since 2006, been in sales now since 2010. But I've seen a lot of things have happened during the pandemic. A lot of things have happened in the cruise industry. But I have to say, this reintroduction of Costa as a brand to the market and to the North American market specifically is really something that's very exciting. I'm happy to share this information with you. Let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. So let's talk about Costa. You know, Costa is a part of Carnival Corporation. We're a proud member of the world's leading cruise lines. You've heard our sister brands, Carnival, Cunard, Seabourn, Princess, Holland America, Costa, Carnival Cruise Line, of course, can't forget them, P&O. I may be forgetting a couple, but those are the brands that make up the world's leading cruise lines. And we are the distinctly international brand of world's leading cruise lines. We are obviously Italy's finest. Our biggest market internationally, where we get the most passengers from, is Italy. Number 2 is France. Number 3 is Spain. Number 4 is Germany. Number 5 is the UK. And North America, I'm talking Canada, the US, and Mexico, come in there somewhere about 6 or 7 around the world. So that's a very big difference in the sense that this is a truly international experience. It's a fun, festive, cosmopolitan experience. People from around the world. We utilize the finest Italian products on board. We'll talk about that. It's definitely a multicultural, multilingual experience. That is the biggest claim to fame that Costa has, is that we bring Europe to our passengers from around the world. We do it Italian style. We do it as Italy's finest, La Dolce Vita. We present the most interesting destinations and the most interesting way to see Europe, because it is a truly authentic European, fully immersive, uninterrupted international experience from beginning to end. So that obviously is nothing new. We have been known as the Italian, the European line for quite a long time. But again, we're going to get to some of the new enhancements this year that make a Costa cruise more of a fantastic option for clients than ever. But when we are the largest cruise line in Europe, as a matter of fact, almost 1 out of every 2 guests going on a cruise in Europe will cruise on a Costa cruise. So a huge organization, huge representation in Europe. Obviously, we know we're a little bit or significantly less well known here in the States and in North America, but we operate very much like a niche player here because our cruises are so different. We know we're not mass market. That international experience is somewhat of a more niche experience. So we definitely consider ourselves to be for specific passengers that are looking for something different. And some of the niches that we serve very well, destination collectors, we're going to travel to some of the most incredible places around the world. We'll talk about our itineraries coming up. Foodies, we've developed a fantastic new food program that I'm really happy to share. I experienced the food program and our new ship on Costa Toscana when I was at the christening in Europe this past June. So I'll have some information on that. We have incredible wine lists, incredible wine options for wines from around the world. Obviously, as I mentioned, history buffs. We do sail to some really historically significant places around the world. And that is really one of the big things about a Costa cruise is the itinerary oftentimes is the key factor that will drive somebody to a Costa cruise based on the experience of being able to visit some of these really incredible destinations that we offer passengers from around the world. As I mentioned earlier, uninterrupted international experience is for that person that's looking for a cosmopolitan, truly authentic European experience, just like what you would experience traveling through Europe on land. We bring that same experience to our guests on the ship as well. We have award-winning spa programs, music lovers, some fantastic entertainment that we'll cover later in the presentation, live music, electronic dance music, all kinds of different music on board. We have multi-million-dollar art collections available on board all of Costa's ships. Each ship is practically a floating museum, and we'll see examples of some of that artwork later in the presentation. And then last but not least, people watchers. I happen to live in Miami, which is, if you kind of sit on Lincoln Road, if you've been to Miami, you kind of watch the world go by because you do have people from all over the world visiting South Florida. And our experience is very similar on a Costa cruise as well. But let's talk about, in addition to all those niches, let's talk about our customer base. And we worked with an advertising and marketing agency in New York City that's a worldwide organization, and they really helped us to pinpoint 5 key, what they call tapestry segmentation. This is a mosaic segmentation to really tell us about what is a typical, for lack of a better term, the most typical Costa cruise potential passenger or actual passenger like. So they came up with different categories. 24% of Costa's clients currently are what they call affluent estates. And there's a lot of good information here because median household income you can see is $127,000 and the median age is 44, average household size being 3. So what's key about this? Median income is high, it's on the higher side. Median age tends to be on the lower side in terms of as far as cruisers in North America go, and that's significant because we do tend to skew a little bit younger than a lot of other lines, particularly in Europe, for European guests, I should say. And in the United States, median income does tend to be on the higher side because we are an international brand and international experience. Those international experiences do usually come with higher price levels, higher time investment. You obviously have to invest more time to getting into and out of Europe, the flights, the hotels, your transfers, et cetera. And with that time do tend to come higher price points. And that's really important because, as I mentioned, the international experience kind of does cater more to a savvier traveler, a person that is more well-rounded in terms of having traveled to more different places around the world. And that median income certainly facilitates that. A higher median income does tend to mean that people have been better traveled, for lack of a better term. So you can see they're well-educated, well-traveled, married couples, expect quality and time-saving services, active in their community, and an active vacation, sports enthusiasts and enthusiastic travelers. You can see that affluent estates that makes up the majority of our current customer passenger base. Another one, 12% of our guests are upscale avenues. Again, here you can see median age does skew low, 41. Median household income, almost 100,000 per year. These are prosperous married couples living in more suburban enclaves. Serious shoppers appreciate quality and bargains. Active, again, fitness pursuits, bicycling, yoga, jogging, hiking. These are active cruises. We're going to see the excursions that we take later. They're definitely active on the active side. And then enthusiastic travelers, a common theme that we're going to be coming to. These people are enthusiastic travelers, savvy travelers, if you will. Then median household income for our last group, senior style, it does say about $47,000 per year, but these people are, for the most part, are getting close to retirement age, so they have less debt, which means more disposable income. That is definitely something to consider, and even there, the median age is 57. Again, senior lifestyle, saving for retirement, married, kids that moved away from home, but they are, again, affluent senior travelers that have relocated to warmer climates, but very savvy in worldwide events, savvy travelers and savvy in worldwide events. They subscribe to cable TV and like to keep up with current events through various news channels. So definitely something to consider when you're talking to your potential customers about a Costa cruise being a good fit for them. Then a couple of new opportunities that we have identified, what we call family landscape. It's currently 9% of our Costa clients and 10% of US cruisers overall. Median household income here is 74,000 for a median age of 37. Average household size almost three people, three persons. These are successful young families, usually in their first homes, do-it-yourselfers, and enjoy improvement projects, going to towns, gardens, etc. But again, here we go, sports enthusiasts. They are up to date with the latest technology. They're savvy people. They keep up to date with world events. So that's something that, again, I keep reiterating as we go through these tapestry segmentation mosaics, as they call them. And then last but not least, Gen X Urban. 63,000, median age is 43, smaller average household size. They are getting older in age. And these are Gen X middle agers. About a fifth of the residents are 65 and over. So you can see there's quite a few on the younger side as well. And these are usually saving for retirement, but again, news junkies. They like to keep active in social events, in social media, and also in world events. So this is kind of, the household income, the likes, the dislikes, the demographics, what have you, really important when you're talking to potentially to a Costa cruiser or to a potential Costa cruiser. So as I said, now let's move on to some little bit less statistics, a little bit more about our product and our ships. When we moved to, when we really thought about how we would reintroduce our brand during the later stages of the pandemic and moving into post-pandemic, we really took a step back and came up with a new message. Our new message is, this fits very well with everything that we just talked about, is enrichment through exploration. We are the spokespeople for enrichment through exploration. As I mentioned, Costa cruises are adventurous. They want to get out and see the world. So it's very important that we capitalized on that demographic. How do we do that? We do that through exploring unique sea land experiences, where obviously the cruise is a very big part of the experience, but what you do on land is equally as important. And we want to enable the experience through enrichment through exploration for all of our guests. How do we do that? The three key pillars of the new Costa are: number one, the longest stopovers and most authentic excursions ever; number two, the highest quality and local food experiences; and number three, the most sustainable ships and the most sustainable cruise company. These are the three pillars that we'll be discussing throughout the rest of the presentation, and how we repositioned ourselves to take advantage of these three pillars. Number one, shore excursions. We really want the excursion experience to be something that enriches your journey. We want it to be something that cannot be seen anywhere else on any other cruise line through any other avenue than if you were on a Costa cruise. And I'll talk about some of those excursions later when I talk about the cruise that I was so fortunate to take with journalists and travel agents on Costa Toscana in June. These again are not, this is to take advantage of the traditions, the flavors, the dances, the colors, the local culture, everything that makes these places unique. We have been traveling in the Mediterranean for over 70 years. The Mediterranean is our home. So we really feel that we are the best ambassadors for the Mediterranean and Europe as a whole to really show clients the best, the most unique experiences throughout Europe on land and at sea. A couple of other things we do is we want to show you some off the beaten path destinations as well, places that are unexpected, smaller villages, favorite local spots, secluded beaches, places that you would not really be able to see if it were not for a Costa cruise. And I'll talk about some of those excursions, as I mentioned, when we get to the Toscana section of the presentation. And of course, all of this is worry-free. You take advantage of our logistical know-how. We've been operating in this area for decades. And also, obviously, they speak your language, and these tour experts are experts. They're tour experts and guides that know this area like the back of their hand. And obviously, being on a Costa cruise excursion does give you the added security of knowing that the ship knows where you are and knows the status of where you are during the excursion. And honestly, given some of the excursions that we have, there would be no reason not to take advantage of the excursions. As a matter of fact, there are some excursions that will be sponsored by National Geographic. We are not advertising National Geographic in North America, but when you book excursions and you talk to people about the excursions, or when you talk to potential clients about excursions, you can mention that some of them are sponsored by National Geographic. That's a great new program that we just developed. Also, the longest excursions in port. We really want this to be an experience where you get to spend more time in port, more time enjoying these amazing European destinations, and we'll talk about those during the itinerary sections. Another great development this year, I have to say, I just did this cruise on Costa Toscana in June, and I have to say the food was absolutely amazing. We really took a step back and said, okay, let's think about a new food experience. How do we reinvigorate the food experience while still maintaining true to our European international cuisine roots? And what we've done is expanded some of our international, our specialty dining experiences. Teppanyaki is available on select ships. A really great sushi bar and poke bowls available on select ships as well. The Heineken Bar and Steakhouse is available on select ships. We have an upgraded Pizzeria Pomodoro, which is also available fleet-wide. And the Salty Beach Cafe, which is kind of like a beach shack right near the aft pool. I'll show you an image of that later in the presentation, so you don't even have to leave the pool to really take advantage of a really high quality salad, burger, whatever you want to do. So we really thought about the specialty dining, and obviously being a late night cruise line, late night parties, we obviously want to have a lot of late night food available at the Sandriso Petasserie, focaccia sandwiches, burgers available at later in the dining in the evening, because we do experience later nights on Costa cruises. As you know, Europeans do tend to dine later. So late seating can be 9:30, main seating about 7:30. And then it's a longer experience as well. It's like a 6 or 7 course meal every night in the main restaurant, with a risotto or pasta course served every night as well. So it's a very true European authentic dining experience. The specialty dining options range anywhere from about 10 euros up to about 50 euros. I'll talk about the gourmet dining experience that's available for 50 euros. Again, dollar for dollar, euro for euro. With the exchange rate now, a dollar is a euro. So this is really an incredible bargain. And these experiences are really great bargains in comparison to what I've seen some of these experiences go for on other lines. It really is a very value-oriented, great value in terms of taking advantage of specialty dining at a very, very reasonable price. So that's a lot of the new specialty dining venues that we've introduced. But let's talk about our chefs. We have been working with Bruno Barbieri. He's the Italian chef. That's him in the middle. He's a Michelin star rated chef. He started recreating our menus a few years back, fleet-wide. With the part of the relaunch of Costa, the new Costa, we also brought on board Hélène Darroze, that's the French chef, that's her on the left, and Angel Leon, who's an avid fisherman, sportsman, and chef from Spain, that's him on the right. Hélène Darroze, coincidentally, is the inspiration for one of the characters from Ratatouille. Little fun fact there. Some people that have seen that movie know who she is, who she inspired right away. But you can kind of see Italy, Spain, and France, 3 of the key culinary capitals, if you will, of Mediterranean cuisine. So they really got together not only to recreate all of our menus fleet-wide, also in the main dining rooms, etc., but every day, every night, they will be presenting a destination dish. And the destination dish is a way to bring the ship's itinerary and the flavors of the ports that we'll be visiting the next day to your table the night before. It's a celebration of the ingredients, the cuisine, and the culture of the place that we'll be visiting the next day. All of this is done with authentic quality experiences, ingredients. We source locally. We really want the dining to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you can look back on. And I have to say, given, as I mentioned, what we just did on Costa Toscana, they really did a great job. The menus were amazing. And some examples of the destination dishes, I hope everybody's had lunch, because this is a part where people usually get hungry. Ratatouille from Bruno Barbieri. Here, oddly enough, we'll be presenting ratatouille to celebrate Marseille, ratatouille and sea bass meatballs with potatoes and aioli sauce. So this is an example of the destination dish that would be available the night before we arrive in Marseille. Hélène Darroze will present, for example, Palermo, beef medallion, Sicilian couscous, and saffron. And then Angel Leon, who's, as I mentioned, does specialize in seafood, but in this case, he's presenting Palma de Mallorca, roasted pork, sweet potato puree, and sobrasada, which is Spanish cold cut, if you will. And being that Palma de Mallorca is on the south of Spain, it is a very rustic, farm-oriented community. So, pork and farm fresh ingredients do make a lot of sense for that region of the world. But these are examples of destination dishes. I bring this up. First of all, I wanted you to see what an example of a destination dish is. What are we talking about? And secondly, because I really wanted to show examples of what our menus look like. Because when people think Italian, sometimes they think Italian American or Southern Italian. And Italian cuisine and European cuisine is is pretty varied. Just the north and the south of Italy's cuisine are so different. If you know, a lot of special restaurants will say specializing in northern Italian cuisine, so people understand that distinction. So I really wanted to show an example of, it's not necessarily what people think of when they think Italian cuisine. I wanted to give you an example of what our menus look like. So everybody on the group that I sailed with took advantage of experiencing the Archipelago Restaurant. Archipelago just means a chain of islands. And this restaurant is really amazing. This is the restaurant that costs 50 euros per person. It is 3 menus. I think each is like a 6 or 7 course menu because you do get an amuse-bouche to start each menu. And you can pick from one of the 3 menus that I mentioned, Angel León, Ellen d'Arroz, or Bruno Barbieri. Do you want to eat Spanish? Do you want to eat Italian? Do you want to eat French? And obviously with an international flair. You can all pick the same menu at the restaurant. Or if you have a table with various people, everybody can pick a different menu. And that restaurant, that table becomes your island where the waiters and the maitre d's come by and explain each course, all the ingredients, where they come from. You get a card at the end that tells you where all your ingredients came from and how many miles we traveled as we traveled around your menu, so to speak, because we derived ingredients and cuisines from various places throughout the Mediterranean. And I have to say, some people went 3 times because they wanted to try all 3 menus. It really is an incredible experience. 50 euros per person. If you want to do it with a wine pairing, a different wine that the sommelier will come and explain at every single course, that's only like another 30 or 35 euros. It's, in other words, we're talking about 100 euros or less for a really incredible gourmet, fine dining, tasting menu experience, which I have to say is up there with just about any other that I've done in the industry. And like I said, I've been in the industry for quite a long time. I'll show you some images of the Archipelago Restaurant, but one other thing that we're really proud of here is sustainability, as I mentioned, and sustainability being so important to us. Not only will a portion of the proceeds for your service charges, for your cover charges, go to Guardians of the Coast, which is an environmental program that is agency that is responsible for education and also for maintaining the coastline, the Italian coastline. The materials that were used in the Archipelago Restaurant are all repurposed materials, or a lot of repurposed materials that were created specifically for use in the restaurant. So here we can see some images of the Archipelago Restaurant. It's a very intimate restaurant, less than maybe 100 people, 120 at the most. So this is a very high attention, high-end experience. I mean, I have to say, I know I keep saying this, but it really was such an amazing experience. And there you can see some examples. All that woodwork there on the left is all repurposed driftwood that was claimed back from the ocean. A lot of the chandelier is repurposed plastic, believe it or not, that was taken back from the ocean, and that's through our organization, Guardians of the Coast. So again, sustainability is very important. And again, as I said, we use sustainability in our food presentation as well, because the products are locally sourced. We try to minimize waste of food on board, and excess food is donated to different organizations, local organizations throughout the Mediterranean that go to feed the less fortunate. Sustainability being that third pillar, which we're about to get into. But here you can see an example of the main part of the Archipelago Restaurant looking toward the bar. The bar in the back is where you would enter the Archipelago Restaurant from the right. So that gives you a really good shot of what the restaurant looks like. Amazing experience. I can't tell you enough about it. So entertainment, let's talk about some of the incredible entertainment that we have on board, because we took a step back and thought about that as well. Believe it or not, across our fleet, over 13,000 seats in our theater, 1,200 square meters of LED walls in theaters and outdoor areas, 180 musicians around the fleet, classical music, EDM music. We are known for being more European oriented. So there's quite a bit of electronic dance music. Being from Miami, I have no problem with that whatsoever. 108 dancers and 58 acrobats to show you different experiences around the fleet. But one thing that our newer ships have, you can see an image of it at the left, is el Coliseo, literally the Colosseum. The Colosseum not only serves as the main atrium on board the ship, kind of like the main central hub, if you will. It's surrounded by shops and cafes, coffee shops, etc. It also becomes an entertainment venue with different LED projections. You can see the Acrobat there on the left. It really is an incredible venue that it has multi-use, multifunction. It becomes a meeting point. It becomes a projection screen installation. It becomes an entertainment venue. It becomes a concert venue. It becomes a Cirque du Soleil type venue. Really incredible. The Coliseo was really, really impressive. You can see an image there of it at the left. Obviously, we have a lot of live music. We're European, Italian line, so there's a lot of opera music. There's a lot of orchestral music on board as well. And then last but not least, we do have the review shows. We have a lot of great pop music. Our entertainment tends to be very internationally oriented, multilingual, but with an emphasis on being able to be appreciated and enjoyed by people from around the world. So there's different venues that we have, sometimes specific languages for specific in specific areas, but oftentimes it's just an internationally driven show with the visuals and the music being something that can be enjoyed from around the world. I have to say, when I'm on our ships, you know, I mentioned our 6 markets, or our 5 top markets around the world. We also have 6 official languages because Brazil is in there as well. So Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian, English, German, 6 official languages. And I have to say, every time I'm on our ships, I am always amazed by how good of a job the crew and the entertainers do of making sure that everybody feels welcome, serviced properly to the highest standards, and really has a great time. My hat's off to them. They do an incredible job. Every single time I'm impressed. So sustainability, as I mentioned, the third pillar, which is very important. And one thing about Costa that we're doing is we're always trying, through continuous research, to innovate our systems and our technology. And a really good example of that is the Costa Smeralda. You can see an image of her there at the top right, and then the Costa Toscana. These are currently the newest ships in the fleet, and those are both propelled by liquefied natural gas. Smeralda was the first one to do it, to utilize this technology, and then Toscana came right after that. We just christened her, as I mentioned, in June in this past June. So liquefied natural gas is a new propulsion fuel and a new propulsion technology that allows for the lowest carbon footprint and allows for the most efficient ships, because this new propulsion technology frees up engineering space and allows for more space for public use. These 2 ships, Toscana and Smeralda, are both about 5,400 passengers, just under 185,000 tons. So these are definitely large ships. Firenze and Venezia are about 4,500 passengers, and those are the 2 ships that will be going to Carnival as Costa by Carnival in the future. But until the end of 22, they are still, and early 23, they are still in Costa's fleet. But you know, liquefied natural gas is a really good example of us trying to really innovate and really think about sustainability. Obviously, I mentioned sustainability being one of the 3 key pillars. We obviously need to take care of the oceans. They allow us not only to do our business, but allow us to live on this planet. I think we obviously all know how important the environment is, and particularly taking care of the oceans for being being part of our livelihood is very important to us. And that's another example of how we really make sustainability one of the 3 pillars of the new Costa. Sustainability has always been important, but now so more than ever. So let's talk about Costa Toscana. This part of the presentation would normally be in a video, but because sometimes it gets a little choppy, I'm going to narrate or attempt to narrate what the video would have before. So this is a really great shot of the Costa Toscana, the ship that we just gave the christening ceremony for in June of 2020. We inaugurated her in Barcelona. And so you can see an image there of the Costa Toscana, and we'll cover the itinerary coming up. So here are some images. Here you can see an image of an outside balcony stateroom. This is exactly what it looks like. I stayed in one of these. You have a little couch. The bathroom would be toward the entrance when you walk in to the right. At the very at the very end of the cabin back there, you open up the curtain and there you have your balcony. So you can see that we really tried to animate the colors, if you will. So that's a really great example of what the cabin looks like. And this is an example of the aft pool. You can see the retractable roof there. The Salty Beach Shack Cafe that I mentioned would be located here. This is right outside of the spa as well. And also this part of the ship is utilized for a couple of parties, one of which is the Noche Bianca, which is literally the white night. So this entire area of the ship becomes a nightclub, like a beach nightclub as you would think of in Ibiza or Miami or anywhere in the Mediterranean, Greece. It becomes, everybody wears white, the lights go down, they have electronic dance music playing. It is a huge party. I mean, it went up until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I have to tell you, it is a fantastic party, and I could put it up there with thinking about any nightclub, any beach nightclub anywhere in the world. It was that much fun. Here's an example of the spa. We mentioned the Samsara spa. We have an amazing, the spa, the spa is not Samsara on this one, but the spa on board the Sole Mio spa on board the Costa Toscana, really world-class spa program for people that are spa goers, the spa aficionados that we covered at the beginning with the niches. Okay, and then let's talk about Italy's finest products. We talked about Italy's finest products on Italy's finest cruise line. This is an example of some of the products that we use on board. Campari, we have a Campari bar. There you get an example of Campari, obviously being one of Italy's finest cordials, if you will. We also have Ferrari, not the car. Ferrari is a really high-end method champenoise winemaker. So it's champagne method winemaking, but it's an Italian sparkling wine. I had it every single day when I was on Costa Toscana at the Ferrari bar. You can see a really great image of it there. And really, they have about 4 or 5 different types of Ferrari sparkling wine. And this became a real focal point before and after dinner because it was so beautiful and the wine was just so delicious. You can see there also, I mentioned the Heineken bar, the Heineken bar and steakhouse. Here's an example of that. Obviously, Heineken is not Italian, but it is definitely one of the better European known brands for sure. And then another venue, Aperol. We have an Aperol Spritz bar, Aperol being a lighter Campari, if you will. So that's located on select ships as well, on most ships actually. So you can see there, those are examples of some of the venues on board. All the glass work you saw on Costa, on all of our ships is Murano glass, even in your cabin, stem to stern. Really amazing, high-end craftsmanship and products and techniques utilized to outfit all of Costa's ships. And then not only the bars and the venues that take advantage of Italy's finest and Europe's finest brands, we also use Barilla pasta, for example, Amarillo gelato, all these fine Italian brands that are used on board so that your passengers really are experiencing the best of Italy, the best of Europe. So that's the Costa Toscana. This is the itinerary that Toscana did. Very similar itinerary. This is the itinerary that we took advantage of out of Rome. Most people will travel on this itinerary out of Rome. We added a port in Barcelona because we christened the ship in Barcelona. But this itinerary out of Rome, we went in and out of Rome. No need to discuss all the amazing things there are in Rome. But Naples, we went into Naples. We went to Pompeii on an excursion, which we were there for all day. Really amazing excursion. I had never been to Pompeii. It was absolutely remarkable place to visit. Now we stopped in Barcelona because it was a christening, but this ship in the peak summer, June, July, and August, will actually stop in Ibiza, and it'll have an 12-hour stop in Ibiza. So you really do take advantage of Ibiza's nightlife. Again, one of the 3 pillars: the longest, most authentic excursions, and the longest stays in port. We really push the envelope to try to take advantage of as much time in port as possible. 12 hours in Ibiza, 11 hours in Naples, 8 hours in Valencia. This itinerary in the peak summer will do Valencia. In the entire season we'll do Valencia. Only in the peak summer, June, July, and August, Ibiza. In the shoulder, fall, and spring, she will call on Palma de Mallorca. So if you have somebody that wants to take advantage of Ibiza's nightlife, this is one of the few cruises that you can do it on, if the only one that I know of. Valencia, another amazing city that I got to know on a recent cruise. I loved Valencia. I really could spend a week or two there. Obviously, in the south of France, in Marseille, um, you have all of Provence available for you to visit. And we actually took an excursion there again. My group went to Aix-en-Provence, which is an ancient city, and then we sat around and did a wine tasting at a cafe, at a local cafe. It was really a lot of fun. And then in Savona, we actually, there's a lot of excursions available in Savona, Monte Carlo, Torino, Cinque Terre, Portofino. I'm forgetting a few, I can imagine, but I chose an excursion for us to visit in Savona, which was called Finarborgo and Noli. And nobody had ever heard of these villages. Again, I'm going back to these places maybe off the beaten path, unique experiences, hidden gems that we spoke about at the beginning of the presentation. Nobody had ever heard of these villages. They are medieval villages, literally fortress cities or fortress villages that you cross through a gate, and it was like going back in time. I mean, it was just such an amazing experience that we could only do on a Costa cruise. And then that was Finale Borgo, and then Noli is a slightly smaller medieval village, but the beachfront in Noli was just absolutely amazing. When you think Italian Riviera, I think something like what we saw in that village of Noli is exactly what comes to mind. Everybody was just blown away by that excursion. So that's again one of the examples that I gave of the most authentic excursions and unique excursions that can be done. Now, Smeralda, and let's remember also one point that the larger ships will definitely be sailing to the Western Mediterranean. Smeralda does a similar itinerary. Again, Rome, Savona, Marseille, Barcelona, Palma. I mentioned that Palma de Mallorca stop, and then Palermo, which is in Sicily. So that opens up an entire other group of places that can be visited. And each of the stops here is over 10 hours. Again, trying to give the most time, the longest stops in port of any cruise or cruise line. We will have a couple of ships operating out of Venice. We are still operating out of Venice, although they have moved the port. Unfortunately, that sail away down the Grand Canal is not happening, but we are probably going to be expanding the port facilities in Venice very soon to try to give our passengers the best experience possible. Always will have one or two Eastern Mediterranean cruises. Obviously, everything, maybe not so obviously, but Eastern Mediterranean is everything that is to the east of Italy. You see the boot there in the middle. Everything to the east, Turkey, Croatia, Greece, we call Eastern Mediterranean. Everything to the west, Spain, Italy, France, Spain and France, and the west of Italy, we call Western Mediterranean, and everything north of Italy, we call Northern Europe. So it's a really, really easy way, if not a little ethnocentric way of remembering east versus west. Kind of Italy, that boot becomes a dividing point. So on the Eastern Mediterranean, the ships do tend to be smaller. These usually about 2,200 passengers, double occupancy. So you see about half the size of Toscana, Smeralda, and the other two larger ships, Firenze and Venezia. But some people, that's a really good size for them. So if somebody wants something a little bit more intimate, maybe not as large of a ship, the Eastern Mediterranean might be a good option for them. And here again, 3 Greek islands, Cephalonia, Mykonos, and Santorini, and overnight in Santorini, which is incredible. Bari on the south of Italy, and Cephalonia. So again, 3 stops in Italy and 2 stops if you count Venice in 3 stops in Greece and 2 stops in Italy. Again, I keep mentioning those destination seekers, those history buffs. Obviously, we don't need to get into all the history that's available to be experienced in Greece, the seat of Western civilization, or one of them anyway, if you will. And then last but not least, for the destination collectors, for those people that are really looking for history, cultural immersion, we do have winter Dubai cruises available, sailing out of Dubai with an overnight in Dubai, another overnight in Abu Dhabi, and stops in Doha and Muscat. This is available winter 22, 23, and every winter thereafter. And this is really a hot destination right now, not only because it is unique in the winter, but because you get to use our ship, as a floating hotel, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. We're still, as I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, we're still moving ships around. So I haven't included the ships here because they are kind of still changing on us. But obviously for 22 and 23, they would be in place. You can see these itineraries available on our website at costacruises.com. Also new this year, we have, and we will be launching this very soon, we will have a cruise and golf program. Costa is the official cruise line of the Ryder Cup 2023, which will be held in Marco Simone Golf Course in Rome. I think it's the first time it's being held in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not an avid golfer. I'm more of a tennis guy, but that's what they tell me, if I'm not mistaken. And you'll be able to experience, golf transfers, clubs, rentals, everything in each port. It's a golf and cruise option that will only be available in the Mediterranean on Costa Cruise Lines. A lot of great things coming. We'll be launching this very soon, and then eventually this program will also be launched in Dubai as well. And then last but not least, the fall sale is going on right now. We have 7-night rates for Europe, believe it or not, from $449 per person. The fall sale is open right now and will be running through October 31st. I encourage, if you have passengers now that want to look at early spring or we are in Europe year round, which is a great time to go to Europe if you want to save less airfare, airfares are less expensive. The cruises tend to be less expensive, less crowded, less hot. I will say one thing about being in Rome in June, it was very, very hot. Now I do live in South Florida, so my standard for heat is maybe a little bit more elevated than others, but I can tell you it was pretty hot. Pompeii, everything is stone. So I felt like we were in a giant oven at some point, but I'm not complaining. I had the most incredible time. It was just absolutely amazing. So I want to say grazie, thank you in Italian. Thanks everybody. Again, my name is Silvio Alonso, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Costa North America. You can see my email address there, silvio.alonso@us.costa.it. I know it's a little convoluted. Also, I encourage you to please follow us and join our Facebook group, Ciao Costa Advisors North America, where you can keep up to date on the latest developments, ship itinerary changes or launches, latest promotions, and just the latest and greatest information on all things Costa for our North American guests. I think that was exactly 45 minutes, maybe just a little bit more. So I want to thank you again for your attention, and I guess we will now open it up to questions. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Silvio. Yes, right on time. And we do have a few questions coming in. Our first one is from Mike, who is wondering if Costa has an agent academy for agents to learn more.
We will very soon. Costa Extra is coming up soon. It's already been out. It's www.costaextra.com, and we are relaunching the academy. So stay tuned for that. Well, it's definitely coming soon. And obviously, if you join the Costa Advisors North America, we'll be posting updates on that part of Facebook as well.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is from Lori, who is wondering what the youngest age is allowed on board for children and if there are any programming or entertainment on board for kids.
We have a great kids program available on board. It is, I think, the youngest to take advantage of the kids club. It's called the Squawk Kids Club. It's just like they take them all around the ship. They have different shows for them. They do different activities with them. I don't know exactly what the youngest age available allowed on board is. I would imagine it's 6 months, but I know for a fact in order to take advantage of the kids club, the kids just has to be diaper trained. That is a prerequisite. If you want, I can follow up on the age exactly. My reservations manager I don't see her anywhere. I would ask her right now, but I can definitely follow up on that.
Okay, sounds good. Diaper trained, I think, is a good measure for it.
Diaper trained is a good, I mean, obviously, if you can bring a newborn on board, if you're willing to take care of them, but if you want them to be able to take advantage in the kids club, they must be diaper trained. So whatever that means. I don't have any kids. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that. Anyway.
Understood. And it looks like we just have one more question from Nicole. So I understand that there are 6 languages spoken on board, and Nicole is wondering what currencies are accepted on board.
That's a good question. The currency on board all the ships in Europe is euros. That's why I mentioned all the pricing on board is euro. That is the official currency accepted now. You can show up with an American credit card. Obviously, they will convert to euros. And like I said, now, back in the day before, a euro was like 75 cents. So is really not as good of a bargain as it is now. Right now, the euro is on par 1-to-1 with the dollar, if not sometimes below. So basically, your dollar gets you as far as a euro would on board the ship. But yeah, onboard currency in Europe is euro. Most of the ships around the world is euro. South America is euro. We don't say a lot of South Florida anymore. That used to be dollars, but we don't say a lot of South Florida anymore. So I would go with euros is definitely the most widely accepted currency, the most widely utilized currency. But we take credit cards from all over the world, unless it's a country where, they're under financial sanctions, which luckily nobody in North America is. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, got it. And those actually are all of our questions. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Silvio, for all of that information.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a great rest
Great
of your week,
evening.
everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.